Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Laura Dowling. I'm here at the historic Cheekwood Mansion in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm decorating for the holidays. I'd love to show you around.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Laura Dowling. I'm the former chief floral designer at the White House. Now I'm an author, speaker, designer, and I had the honor and privilege of decorating historic Cheekwood this holiday season. So we're sitting here in the morning room of the beautiful Cheekwood Mansion, and it's the property on the historic grounds and gardens of Cheekwood here in Nashville, Tennessee. So the morning room is the room that is just full of light. It overlooks one of the gardens, the Swan Lawn, and I wanted to decorate it as if it was a snow-dusted forest with these trees that shimmer in shades of white, gold, and silver. I didn't start out to be a florist. I was a policy analyst in Washington, D.C. for many years, and I think I always enjoyed creative things and entertaining, but it wasn't until I took a trip to Paris in about 2000 where I discovered the French bouquet, started studying French flowers and techniques. I really was inspired by the style. So coming back to DC, I kept my full-time job. I was a communications strategist working out of my kitchen, but I started a part-time floral design business. And it was from that position in 2009 where I heard, my husband actually heard that the White House florist retired, and he suggested I apply for the job. So I wasn't even a full-time florist, just working part-time with a passion for design. And that's when I started competing. It was an 8-month competition with a final interview and contest between finalists. The First Lady selected me to be the chief floral designer. So that's an amazing story, I think. Welcome to the grand entrance foyer at Cheekwood. The theme of the room is Visions of Sugar Plum, and my inspiration was this incredible space. Very Italianate in style. It's 2 stories. The stone mantle, the 14-foot tree is the centerpiece, and you can see the rich colors of Italian style, the plums and purples, the amber orange, and so layer upon layer, not only of the ornaments and ribbons, but the detail touches, these gilded branches and fruit. So fruit and rich colors, really part of this theme. So at the top, you'll see that there's a Cupid motif throughout the space. I think in a room like this that is grand in scale, that you want to balance an important element like the tree with an equally important piece. So to frame this mantle, and we couldn't touch it with any decorative element, we used a delicate frame, this metal frame, and then built up with chicken wire, and then starting with the branches and ornaments, layer by layer, to get the same feeling of the lightness and the fruit and the flowers. The color scheme, the gilded branches are the finishing touch. So I think it's an important frame to the mantle, and I love how it speaks to the tapestry above it. To lead people upstairs to the next space, we designed this garland that is garland in deep swoops and swags, and I'll show you as we go up here, so that we cover up this beautiful brass railing. But people will notice this motif of the festoon and the swag throughout in the architectural detail and in the design detail. And then I want to show you how we carried out the putti theme. So the putti ornaments that are woven in, just kind of a charming touch. And the sparkly fruit and the reflective ornaments here at the top. So everywhere people look, and as they go up the stairs, they'll be able to see something beautiful. I think the main difference between decorating for the holidays and Christmas and designing flowers or arrangements or any other kind of decor is kind of subtle. Of course, with the holidays, this is the time to bring out the glitter and the shine and sparkle, maybe more metallic tones. But I would say the approach is actually very similar in that all of the designs are built in layers. And that's one thing I learned in the French approach to design, is that you start with a base layer, you start creating movement and texture, and then just continue to add different layers and levels. And especially focusing on the last and outer layers, which are the floating elements, the transparent things, the things that bring the whole decor or arrangement to life. So here in the Christmas decor, you'll see that there are a lot of branches that dance above the trees. In some of the rooms, there are butterflies and birds that seem like they're whirling around. And so it's very important to add those finishing touches to get that overall magical look. Here's a kind of an overview, a snapshot of the creative design work that went into decorating all the different rooms of the Cheekwood Mansion, which was built in about 1929. The architectural features stand out to me. From the first time I saw the space and all the different rooms, I knew that we'd really want to integrate the design work and the themes with the setting in the mansion. So from room to room, everyone will see different color schemes and palettes that are designed to enhance the overall setting, the furnishings, and the overarching theme of the whole decor this year is called Gifts of the Garden, tying into the botanical garden at Cheekwood. Each room has a different botanical theme. So starting in the entrance foyer, there'll be visions of sugar plums, the butterfly garden, the enchanted garden. Here in the morning room, it's the winter garden. So it will be fun to show everyone all of the different themes and color schemes room to room. I'd love to show you the next place on the tour, which is the Emerald Alley. Follow me. So welcome to the Emerald Alley, and the inspiration here are these beautiful frescoes and on the walls, the greens, the green drapery. I wanted to do something that would be very natural and fitting with the botanical theme, but also just be a kind of a serene walkthrough leading you to the next space. So these are faux boxwood topiaries, but very nice ones. And the touch that I think is a little unusual is this beautiful green velvet ribbon with a gold edge that instead of something more predictable, maybe like moss, we did this ruched ribbon technique with elegant ribbon that I think adds a festive touch. And then they're grounded in these French style, Provençal style emerald green pots. So in a symmetrical placement like this, it leads to the next space. And over here you'll see a focal point flower arrangement on the pier table, again in shades of green. Just a very soft and I think peaceful way to lead to the next space, which has a lot of color. Follow me. Welcome to the drawing room. This is the biggest room in the mansion. And so there's a 16-foot tree that we decorated in a pretty vivid color palette. You can see the turquoise and fuchsia, the lime green. It's surprising, I think, but the theme is enchanted garden. So I wanted to get that sense of colors and flowers, birds, and butterflies, I was really inspired by this magnificent rug in the room. The color palette is a more muted shade of all these colors. So I thought by amplifying them a little bit, actually it's quite a bit, to have this vivid color scheme, it would help bring the room and the decor to life. So the tree has a few thousand ornaments on it. We started by decorating on the innermost layer with the biggest shiny elements pushed all the way in, and then building out in all of these layers of ornaments that are a mix of glass and shatterproof. I think one design element worth pointing out is that these ball garlands that you see sort of floating away from the tree help add extra dimension and movement. And then as you look around the tree, you'll see the butterflies and ornaments, the butterflies, birds, and including the ones at the very top. So my vision was to have it look as if birds were flying and floating around and escaping from the top. And it's just kind of a whimsical touch, but that high up in the air, I think it draws people's attention. On the ground, I tried something I haven't done before, but I had these faux boxwood balls that I wrapped as gifts. So instead of actual presents under the tree, these are a kind of a take on that, but with an organic touch. The big tree has the two topiaries flanking it in the windows that also just extend the decor, carry out the theme. And then with a big flower arrangement on the pier table, helping to bring balance to the room. I'm always thinking about balance, so having the big tree balanced by these kinds of arrangements, and then the mantle garland over here, again, just layers and layers of lush ornaments and a few special touches of things woven in. You'll see more of the butterflies and birds. So this is the enchanted garden theme, hopefully coming to life. Many of the mantels in the mansion are just extraordinary, and I love the detail, more of the Cupid motif here. The whole piece is topped by a gilded eagle overseeing the room. So to create this piece, it starts with a garland, simple garland. Again, no attach points here, so we actually used weights, like weightlifting weights, to tie the ribbon and keep it from rolling off. So it starts by building up with the ornaments woven in, and then ribbons and textures added, the gilded leaves, the finishing touch to go around and place the birds and the butterflies. So to match the tree, to give it some volume, again, to balance out the room. But, I think the ribbon choices too with the colors help tie everything together. So you'll see a lot of jewel tones in this piece. When I was looking at how to finish off the space and add the detail, I saw these two turquoise urns, cloisonne urns that are part of the Cheekwood collection, and with the color scheme, knew that they would be perfect to flank the mantle. And then there are a couple of additions of fun trees, jeweled trees here on the pier table that also tie in the colors and just to make sure that the entire room has a festive feel. My favorite memories of working at the White House really do center around the holiday season, because that is the time when the White House was always most beautiful. All of the trees that decorated the mansion, the White House, were fresh trees, so that scent of pine, I just remember that as being so amazing, overwhelming, and very beautiful. So working with all the volunteers, the guest designers to create the magic of the White House Christmas was just an incredible experience. So it wasn't only the decor, I think it was this sense of history and how we were carrying out each First Lady's vision, which is always unique and special. And so having that historical perspective too was really exciting and fun. One of the things I've been working on, in addition to all of the planning that went into Cheekwood, was writing a book about Christmas. It's called Designing Christmas. It's my 5th book, and it's hard to pick a favorite book, but I think this might be my new favorite. It was many years in the making. I've photographed my own house over the course of several years, so it's also very personal. And I just wanted to go back and break down for people what the creative process is like, how to come up with a theme, taking things from my White House experience, and how to bring that home. So the book includes a 10-step creative process, 10 of my favorite elements you'll see from room to room in the decor: the tree, the topiaries, the garland, of course a wreath, and breaking down those elements and showing how they can all roll up to create a really extravagant look, or it can just be one item, maybe a fantastic wreath that will be enough. And then finally, the book includes 10 different design themes. So everything from a fanciful Parisian carousel to a traditional hunt country Christmas, and experimenting with different colors and themes. So there's a lot packed into the book, and I hope people will enjoy it. So yeah, follow me as we go to the library. Welcome to the library, and it's hard to have a favorite room, but I think this might be one of my favorite rooms in the mansion. It is so cozy and warm with this warm wood paneling. There's a fireplace and a cozy seating arrangement, so it's the kind of room where you want to feel like you want to just pull right up and sit by the fire. So when I was thinking about the decor for this room and using a more traditional theme of red and green with gold, I was inspired by the hunt country and the heritage here in Tennessee, but also in general of the motifs of the stag, the horse, the hounds. And so you'll see that throughout the space. There's a red tree and a green tree in here as the focal points, and then embellished with some other smaller topiaries around the space. This tree has a lot of ornaments, again, built from the inside out to the outer edges with these floating swags of ribbon tied in. So we actually make three-dimensional shapes, wire them together, and then put them in at different angles to add some movement. I brought a few pieces from my own collection to help decorate. At the top of the tree, you'll see a pine cone stag, and with these charming stag ornaments. But the pine cone stag is just made from a form, a craft form, where I glued pine cone scales. And then there's a matching one on the green tree. If you come over here, I'll show you this one that has some pistachio shells on it. So as a tree topper, I think it's a fun idea. The green tree with different shades of green that all go together. This mix of organic, like the moss balls with the shiny, and then the glass ornaments that seem to glow from within. Now over here, to kind of ground the chandelier, is a topiary design that is made in a play on the half and half of green and red in the room. So if you look closely, you can see the red berries on one half, the green on the other. And I kind of love how that becomes a focal point in the room. The mantle over here was a little bit tricky. There's no actual place to attach it. So we did what a lot of people do at home, use removable strips to hang this, just to have something above the mantle, again, flanked by the topiary trees. But in this room and with the architectural detail, if you look above the painting up here, you'll see the swag, the festoons again. So all of that becomes a design element that we can replicate throughout the space. So when I was heading to Nashville, I took a whole suitcase and packed up some things from home, again, from my own collection. This, I thought, would be the perfect way to create a vignette. So creating vignettes in a space like this is a fun way, again, to balance out the room and draw the eye. These horses with the topiaries, crafts that you can do at home. They start with a simple wood frame and then just embellish with ornaments, pine cones. I wanted the whole space to have a natural feel and very traditional, that kind of warm homespun feeling of a traditional Christmas. So follow me, we'll head to the loggia for the orangerie theme. So I know I said that the library was my favorite room, but it might actually be this room. I was so excited to see how it would actually come to life. It's a 2-story garden space with so much bright light and a whole wall of windows. So my vision from the beginning was to use citrus colors in the spirit of a classical orangerie, lemon, lime, oranges, and carry that throughout the space. So the centerpieces in the room, the grand centerpiece is the iconic fresh poinsettia tree. This is something they do at Cheekwood every year. And so this year I wanted to weave in other kinds of plants, the orchids and ferns, with actual ornaments and lemon branches, so making it more of an integrated design that would coordinate with the orange tree and the lemon tree on either side. So these are 14 feet tall, the big one is 16 feet tall, and we added a few charming touches like the dragonflies up here. So with these pieces in the room, to balance it out, to add some dimension and interest, we created 4 wreaths in the windows. They're 4 feet by 4 feet and made from thousands of handcrafted florets and layers of decor. They really took almost the full 2-week period to make and install. And they're in these colors that are the citrus colors matching the trees. So around the perimeter of the room are 8 or 9 of these lemon trees that are faux trees, but we've woven in special branches to make them come alive. And the technique I mentioned from the green allée, this ribbon work that is ruched ribbon, helps give a pop of color. So I'm very excited about how this whole space came together, and it changes no matter what time of day you're here. So in the morning, you can see the light and the detail on the tree. In the afternoon, the whole space is flooded with light. So the lemon tree, you know, it's an unusual choice, I admit, for Christmas decor, and surprisingly, I was able to find yellow ornaments and gold ornaments, but putting this together, again with gold and ranges of color, I think helps make it have a festive mood. So the starting point, as always, start from deep within, build out, and put the smaller ornaments so that they kind of float outside, creating that sense of movement and liveliness. And then the finishing touches to make the lemon tree look alive, or to add these branches of lemons and fruit. So it's kind of a whimsical design, and I would just encourage people to focus on using different colors, and it's surprising what you can do. So there are fresh plants at the bottom, the orchids, just to make the overall look feel fresh. Underneath this frame in the poinsettia tree, well, the frame, right now you see all the plants, but there's this metal structure with an amazing amount of irrigation hoses underneath. So all of the plants can be watered throughout the 8-week or so season that it will be up. And to decorate this, the horticultural team here at Cheekwood worked with my design team, and it looked like they were climbing Mount Everest, but they would actually go out, place the plants, and then add the decor together to get this overall integrated soft feel. So sometimes I feel like the poinsettia tree, it's a popular trend. It was at the White House too. I feel like it can look a little harsh, but by softening it with other plants, orchids, ferns, things like that, adding the branches, you add a little bit more life and movement, and I think it gives a softer look. So the special thing on the orange tree, I think, to focus on are these ornaments that are very translucent, that when the tree is lit from within, they glow. When the light hits them from the window, they have a special illumination. But the same thing, it's a monochromatic idea, which I think gives a lot of impact in a space. So primarily the lime, the green tree, balanced and flanked by the orange tree and the lemon tree. When you have a grand space like this, I think having that monochromatic color blocking is a good way to go. So next we'll see the dining room. Follow me this way. The dining room at Cheekwood has a very specific color scheme. The walls are salmon pink and light pink. There's a blue ceiling, blue draperies. So I knew that it would be important to work with that color palette in thinking through the decor. So from the beginning, I had blue and pink on my mind, different shades, and then I also added in some lavender. So I think adding in that kind of touch helps keep the palette from looking too much like a baby shower and maybe more festive. Also with gilded accents, the gold leaves, the embellishments of sparkle with the different ornaments. That's a way to work with maybe an unusual color palette for the holidays, but make it all work together. One of the most exciting things I think about the room is this table setting of Versace china, the bird and butterfly theme, which goes perfectly with the theme of the room, which is the bird and butterfly garden. So the minute I settled on the design scheme and the color scheme, I thought this is the china that we need to use for the room. It's just the perfect spirit of whimsy and detail, the colors. So this wonderful company, Replacements, loaned the china to us, including the glassware, to create a very opulent table that I think sets off the whole space. So the trees were underneath here are pencil trees. I know that's hard to believe, but by taking crystal branches and other branches, you can actually build out the tree to get a different shape. And so it's kind of fun to see how we did that in order to add on all of these ornaments that go all the way inside to create depth and then come out through the edges. And the palette of blue, lilac, you can see some of the lilac touches here, I think just creates a really festive look. So in the background up high are the wreaths that are made. They started out as plain boxwood wreaths that are covered in gold leaf with an unusual ribbon trim all the way around the wreath, and then the center medallion that has the butterfly touches. So it's important to work in levels and layers. I never really do anything on a flat plane, including the wreaths, and I think they really help set off the trees and balance the space. If we walk this way, I'll talk a little bit about the flowers in the room. So on a grand sideboard, side table like this, you can do something in the middle, or as we did here, create a pair, and then we can showcase a little more of the Versace china, also in this pink palette. But this is a nice way to focus attention on the beautiful portrait in the room. These are faux flowers, but arranged in a natural French style, and including adding in just touches of branches that float above the arrangement. So really the key to getting a natural look with any arrangement, whether fresh or faux, is adding the elements that float around and create the depth and movement. So one of my favorite pieces in the dining room is this mantelpiece that frames this extraordinary surround, fireplace surround. It's blue lapis. It might be one of the only ones in the country. And so striking on its own, but then decorated for Christmas. I used this medallion again that I brought from home. I thought, given the porcelain on the table and the porcelain in the collection, adding a piece like that as a center medallion was a fun touch. So in this construct, in this design, more is more, philosophy I like to follow. And there are ribbon rosettes and probably about 12 different kinds of ribbons that are all in the color palette but woven in. You can see the bee motif. So in some ways this room, even though it's called Birds and Butterflies, it has a very French feel, and I think Marie Antoinette would be at home here. But the garland underneath, a natural looking green garland that is just covered and embellished with the ornaments and ribbons, tying in this with the flowers and then the two trees in the room. So one of the more opulent rooms on the tour, Again, one of my favorites. So next we'll head to the morning room. Welcome to the morning room. It's kind of the grand finale of the Cheekwood tour this year. And so for this space, I wanted something that everyone could relate to. I was inspired by the space, the light that is in this room overlooking the Swan Lawn. It's just a beautiful light-filled room. So coming up with a winter wonderland, winter garden theme seemed like just the right thing for the space. And here behind me is a winter forest of 5 trees with these subtle gradations of color. So there's a focal point piece, the big white tree that has a natural touch of pine cones and more butterflies and birds, but all shimmering shades of white, flanked by 2 gold trees and then silver. I think by using the different variations of color and subtle color and metallic elements, that it creates this whole shimmering feel. So I wanted people to really reminisce and feel as if they were walking into a snow-dusted forest. So the trees are the focal point, and then over here to flank the room and to set off the mantelpiece is this garland that starts as just crystal branches and white branches. So building up that theme, adding the twinkling lights in. So you can actually get these wonderful lights now that can go in over the top of the decor. They're on the filament wire and battery operated. So you just sort of tuck them in and around to give this magical touch. The wreath is matching above with snowberries and winter berries. The touch of red, I think, just brings a little more of the natural element into the mix. So all of that together, I think, creates this sort of soft, whisper-like decor, maybe a little bit different from some of the more colorful rooms. All of this decor is then balanced by the arrangements. There are 2 pier tables here in the room. And so we just wanted to do something that seemed like a snowy day. The hydrangea that has some glistening, sparkly elements to it. The whole room just kind of glistens and glows, especially at different times of the day. So if you come here in the afternoon, you'll see that light streaming in. The morning light is also beautiful. So a lot of people say this might be their favorite space. But I did really want people to feel like they had walked into a winter wonderland in this room. Welcome to the silver room. So this is the final room on the tour, and it's a small room that houses the Cheekwood family collection of china and silver. The room is this dark cobalt blue. So in envisioning a color scheme, I thought of the silver, the blues, the touches of metallic, and again, almost a wintry look with branches. The tree is the focal point, and it's a silvery tree underneath. So that's a good starting point if you're trying to do a very specific color scheme. And then building up with these different layers of blue and silver ornaments, you can see some of the detail here, which I think is beautiful. And then the ribbons are also, I think, a main focal point touch on the tree. And I especially love these velvet ribbons with the pearl and gold embellishment. So a very classical style. To get the kind of movement and energy for a tree like this, it was important to create these swags, ribbon garland swags that are about 2 or 3 feet long that can be tucked in and then woven through with the tails sort of flinging out a little bit. So I love to add interest and movement, and I think especially if you're working with faux trees, it's so important to add natural looking elements. So the branches of silver and gold working all the way up. So all of the trees made in the same way, building the outside, building from the inside to the outside, and having the finishing touch be the gilded birds, branches, or butterflies to create all of those moments of So for me, it's always been an exciting time of year. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and so the traditions of going out and cutting a giant noble fir and having the magnificent tree as a starting point, all of the craft projects that I would do with my grandmother and other family members to create personal items, and so that warmth and of tradition layered with now different design approaches, I think is what I enjoy about decorating for the holidays. And more broadly, I think in general, by creating these festive backdrops for the holidays, we invite friends and family in, and it really, I think, is the backdrop to the meaning of Christmas and the joy and the wonder, celebrating with people.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.